Good morning, everybody. Welcome to office hours. I apologize for the late start here. I appreciate your patience. Some technical difficulties, but we are ready to go, I believe. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. We'll get this show on the road. Happy Friday, everybody. A.T. Williams, happy Friday, sir. Good to see you. Dawson, good to see you. James, good to see you. I am live now, sir. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Let me know. Okay, awesome. Sounds like you can hear me, see me. All systems go. Very good. Thank you for being here. Michael, good to see you, sir. Welcome, welcome. Fantastic. Welcome to office hours, everybody. Oops, sorry. Having all kinds of technical challenges this morning, but that's all right. We're good to go here. All right. Let me just, sorry, that was my daughter calling from Paris. So let me just tell her I am on a call here. All right. Welcome, everybody. Office hours. If you are new to office hours, you may not know that these have little to no agenda other than me trying to answer questions and help you out if I can. So it's very free form, very open. You can type questions into the comments here and I will take them as they come. I'm also going to post a link where you can join me on camera if you'd like. So if you have any questions that are longer, need more context, more complex, any of that type of stuff, then you are welcome to use that link to join me. You will come on camera, just to give you a heads up, just to make sure you're prepared for that. You won't come on camera right away. You can hit that link. I'll see you backstage, and then I'll give you a little warning before I actually put you on camera, but that will be the ultimate destination of that link, is that you're going to come on camera. So just be aware of that. I'm going to start off today as I do. We're going to check out if we have any questions in our paid mastermind, and I will address those if we do. And then also I'm going to start things off with a little bit of a discussion on choosing your niche. And this is still just, to this day, one of the most common questions that I get is, what niche, should I build my business in? And I'm referring to industry niche, or even within an industry, some sort of specialization. It could be a specialization based on the exact type of services that you're going to offer. You could be a reputation focused agency versus a lead generation agency, things like that. And so I'm just going to address that quickly to kick things off. And I'm going to pull up a quick presentation to be able to do that, just to show a little framework that I've developed on that topic. And then we will move on to other questions as well. So hopefully that's helpful content to people on this call. And then anybody watching the replay as well will get some benefit too. So let me just go ahead and share my screen and share that presentation. And we will jump into that. So rule number one, when it comes to choosing your niche, is that there is no perfect niche. And this is absolutely critical for people to understand and accept, because I see a lot of people, just kind of ruminating on this and thinking that there is a perfect niche and that this is what is going to determine their success, is if they find that secret perfect niche that nobody else knows about yet. It hasn't been conquered. There's not going to be any competition, but the's going to be huge demand, all that good stuff. That niche that you're dreaming of does not exist. It is a very competitive landscape. There are, it has already been discovered. There's competition in every market. And in fact, if there is no competition, if you honestly believe that you have found a niche where there is no competition, I would say that is an absolutely huge warning sign, and that you should tread very carefully in going into that niche, because if there's no competition, that tells me that there's no money to be made. There's something wrong there. Maybe it's not even a niche that you're thinking it is, something. So ultimately, you've just got to pick your niche. You've got to persist. You've got to be competitive. Are there some niches that are more competitive than others, more established than others? Absolutely. But regardless, there's opportunity in every industry, and you can, you know, go into any niche and see success. Some will maybe take a little bit longer time, require more competitiveness from you, things like that. But they're all opportunities. So this framework here that I want to share with you, this is how I sum up how I think people should think about evaluating their niches. So oftentimes people will come to me and they'll say, hey, Mike, I'm choosing between these three. Which one do you think I should pick? Obviously, ultimately, I can't answer that for you. That's something that you have to answer yourself. And this is the framework that I would ask you to go through, to think through, to determine which of those niches that you think you want to pursue. And ultimately, I mean, if you're that torn between the three of them, you think all three of them are great, you think you would enjoy all three of them, then there's nothing wrong with going out and trying to get some customers in all three of those to start. I don't recommend that you just go into three different niches as a initial growth strategy, because that's hard. It's hard to serve three different types of customers and manage your resources in the early stages of your business to be able to grow that way. But you could start with getting a handful of customers, or trying to get a handful of customers in each of those niches, and then seeing what feels like it's got natural momentum, right? You may try and go out and get customers in all three and find that one of them is really difficult for you to get some initial customers versus others are easier. Or you may find that you learn something about that niche that just makes it harder to work with than the other two. They've got some sort of proprietary system that you're going to have to work with. They've got a competitor in there that everybody's comparing you to. Whatever it is, there's a variety of things that could happen. Nothing beats getting out of your own head and getting out there and getting actual feedback from the marketplace, right? So I think that is perfectly fine to be able to do. And again, if you're struggling between choosing, one niche versus this other, or three, I would say at max. If you're telling me that you're considering seven different niches still, then I would say you really need to go through this exercise and narrow that down to, obviously ideally one, but no more than a few. Okay. So let's take a look at these factors here. So one, you can see right there at the top is the size of the industry, size of the niche. And I would just go ahead and combine that with growth rate and look at those two things together. You can have a relatively smaller, newer industry, but it's on fire. That growth, creates opportunity. When an industry is growing like crazy, businesses are seeing success, there's investment going into that industry. They're going to be spending money on growth. Growth takes money. So they're going to be spending money on growth, which means that they're going to need more vendors. They're going to need more help. So I would look at those two things together. You can have industries that are very large and are dying. It's not that there's not necessarily still room to go in there and build a real nice business. You absolutely can. But you also have to understand and be realistic that if you're going into an industry where people are really struggling and that industry is shrinking, then of course there's going to be contraction in their budgets and contraction in their mindset, right? The optimism that they have about their business going forward. So that can make things more challenging unless, of course, you can have a strategy that's in alignment with that. You can have a strategy of going in there and saying, hey, we are a really low cost provider. We're ideal for what you're doing. We're going to show you how to use automation, show you how to use AI so that you can get the marketing that you still need, but do it in a way that's in alignment with the realities of your industry right now. So size and growth rate go together in my mind. Accessible channels. Accessible channels to me is like a secret hack to growth. When I built my second business, Kutenda, which was the marketing services business, comparing that to my first business was a night and day experience. So my first business, my IT management business, I built it in, I think, what at that time were considered just like traditional B2B sales methods. We did direct mail, we did cold calling, we did networking events, we did presentations, things like that. We were aggressive about all of those things, and we were aggressive about how we structured our services and our price points and things like that. And so we were very successful with that. We were able to grow quickly. We were Inc. 5000 3 years in a row, and we grew fast enough that the wheels always felt like they were about to fall off the cart. So I don't even know that we could have grown too much faster than we did. But you compare that to the second business, Kutenda, and the big difference in growth there, and growth at Kutenda was a rocket ship. It was the wheels were always coming off the cart because we were growing so fast. And the biggest reason why was that I knew from my experience in the first business that I should do everything I could to tap into channels, or what I called aggregators at the time. Somebody who has already collected my audience for me, somebody who already has access to my ideal customers. You look at how High Level has grown so fast, right? High Level has grown so fast through affiliates because those affiliates already had an audience that was appropriate for High Level, and they just connected the two. And so you really compress the time and investment that's necessary to get those customers when you're able to access those customers through existing channels. Every industry has existing channels. Okay, there's trade shows, there's industry newsletters, things like that. Now, of course, YouTube channels, blogs, things like that. If you can devise a strategy for tapping into those channels, you can see really explosive growth. So in the particular niche that you're looking at, what are those channels? How easy are they to access? Some of them, it's as simple as I'm just going to pay to have an ad in your newsletter, right? And that newsletter goes out to 37,000 dentists every week, something like that. Proof of success. And this goes back to that original comment I meant about you finding the dream niche that doesn't exist. Is there proof of success in that niche? I want to see competition. I want to see somebody who's doing well. I want to see somebody who's making money, because if they are, I think I can. So if you find that niche and you can't find anybody having success there, that's like I said, a big red flag. Next is winning strategy. Do you feel like you have a winning strategy to compete in that marketplace? Okay. There's nothing less fun in business than not feeling like you have some sort of competitive edge. If you're just grinding it out against the competition in the exact same way as the competition, there's no real reason for a customer to choose you over the competition, which then ultimately leads to price competition, or it's just hard to retain those customers, right? They're just flip-flopping back and forth between vendors. You want to feel like you have some sort of winning strategy in that market. That could be based on your personal experience. It could be based on you just studying the market and realizing that there are gaps in how that market's being serviced, and that you're going to have a specific structure to your services or to your message that's going to allow you to attack in a different way, right? When I started Everon, my IT management company, it was 100% just about the way that we were packaging and presenting our services to the marketplace. Ultimately, then it was also about how we fulfilled those services to be able to package it the way and sell it the way that we wanted to. We had to have a different fulfillment strategy as well. But fulfillment only mattered after we had sold something, and selling something was based on us having these different service packages and these different price points. So it doesn't have to be anything real exotic. It doesn't have to be anything, certainly in a service business, proprietary. You don't have to have, secret patents and recipes and things like that. It's oftentimes just marketing message and execution. But obviously you need to feel like, okay, I can go into this market and compete. Okay. And then the last one that I put here that I think is actually by far the most important. And that is, who do you want to take care of? Who do you actually enjoy working with enough that you're going to want to remain engaged in their industry, in the challenges that they're facing, trying to learn new things that are going to benefit them. And you're going to want to do that day after day after day. Okay. I can tell you right now, personally, there are some big niches out there that I'm sure I could put together a successful offer in and go out and compete in them. And within a year, I would be so bored and distracted and looking for something else to do to occupy my entrepreneurial ADD that my business would suffer because of it. Because if I went into that niche just because I thought it was going to make me more money, just because I thought it was easier or whatever it was, but I don't care about the businesses in that niche. I don't care about I shouldn't say don't care about the people. Not that sounds harsh. I just mean that the challenges that they have, the things that they're talking about are not interesting to me. It will be very, very hard for me to remain successful or to capitalize on my real opportunities in that niche. So you've got to find a niche that you're actually going to stay engaged in. My personal rule of thumb is that you shouldn't expect to be able to exit a business for 7 years. Okay, 7 years, which 7 years is a good chunk of your life. You've got to be engaged during that time and remain competitive during that time. And that means that it should be in a space that you have natural curiosity, natural energy, and just natural interest in. And I think that that's most important. The reason why I say that's most important is because I believe almost everybody in my community is looking to build a lifestyle business. And with any of these other factors that I went through, size, growth rate, channels, proof of success, winning strategy, you could be a 3 out of 10 on all of those and still build a decent lifestyle business. It's not the hardest thing in the world or the biggest mountain to climb to build a $1 million a year business, a $3 million a year business that gives you a really nice lifestyle. Okay. If you told me, hey, Mike, I'm trying to build a $100 million a year recurring revenue business, I would say, oh, wow, well, we've got to be very thoughtful about the industry that you're going into because it's only going to happen in certain size, certain growth rate. You're going to have a very clear strategy for kicking ass in that market to build a business like that. But if you're telling me that you want to build a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year business that gives you a nice life, allows you to have, the comforts that you're looking for and stuff like that, but you're not trying to go public or any of that, you could do that again, even if on a 0 to 10 scale, you're on the low side or relatively lower side on all of these other factors. If you really have passion and enthusiasm and drive in that market. Okay. So that's my set of criteria on how to choose a niche. I hope that is helpful for you. I hope that's helpful for the handful of people out there that are watching and still in this process. And if you have any questions on that, certainly let me know. All right. All right. Let me go back to questions here in the comments. And actually, hold on. I'm going to check let me check the groups real quick and to see if we have anything over there that I need to answer. And it looks like I probably do. Let me jump in here real quick. Okay, Jennifer asks, I'm wondering about integrations with our customers' existing systems, such as point of sale and payment systems. Example, Square, Spot On, and others. Specifically, to their contacts into Go High Level, to get their contacts into Go High Level and set them up in various workflows. Can this be automated with APIs? So yes, Jennifer, High Level is a very open platform, very flexible, pretty darn easy to get data into and out of. So most likely the limiting factor will be on whatever platform that you are considering integrating with, not High Level. I think I haven't run into any situation yet where High Level was the limit. It was always the other systems and their willingness to be open and share data. So in most cases in today's world, I think that, platforms tend to be more open than not. So I would be surprised if you run into too much problem. Let's see here. Uldis, I hope I'm saying that right. ULDIS says, I might be overthinking, but it's just how my mind works. Welcome to the club. That's a lot of us. I'm trying to find the optimal path that will allow me to both maximize profit margins as well as scale. Amazon SES for email sending has always been cheaper than anything else in the market. While setting up my trial account, I managed to set it up for one of my test clients, and from the get-go, it looks fine. Am I creating more problems for myself? Are there cons to using Amazon SES instead of the built-in solution? I believe the answer to that question is yes, Oldest. I think that, well, I'm not 100% sure, but let me just tell you what my concern would be. My concern would be that you will have some sort of challenge with taking advantage of the markup capability in high level in their SaaS configurator to be able to mark up those services now the way that you want to by using this different mail solution. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe that works just fine still with that other mail solution. I would just make sure and check that very carefully, because the margins that you can achieve in the SaaS configurator through the markup capability that you have in there with high levels email services is a major opportunity, right? So that would be the one thing I would just check into very carefully. Otherwise, I mean, I'm sure Amazon is perfectly good at delivering email, and so I can't imagine that the service itself would be any sort of problem. SMS versus WhatsApp. This is also Oldest. Oldest has a few questions in here. I like it. Says, I'm new to Go High Level, so it might be a silly question. That's okay. In the geographic area where I reside and consider promoting my Go High Level based marketing systems, WhatsApp is king. Yes, absolutely. In most parts of the world, I think that that's the case. SMS are pretty much not relevant anymore. Yes. Does anyone have experience that could provide some cons of using WhatsApp for follow-up automation? And I see there are a few comments on there already. Nice. One of them, from my team. Fantastic. So WhatsApp, I mean, I think if you live in certain parts of the world, WhatsApp is really your option for doing a lot of the capabilities that we typically associate with SMS here in the United States. So to a large extent, I don't even think it's really a practical option in those markets for you to use SMS. Like, the costs are so high and the laws and restrictions on SMS are so tight that I don't even think it's really a practical response, option for you. So the reality is, I think you're going to have to use WhatsApp. Are there some limitations to how you can use WhatsApp right now compared to SMS? Yes, there are. I think the biggest one for me that I've seen so far is that there is a step that you have to take to engage with somebody on WhatsApp for the first time, where they have to, it's got to be a templated approach that you send to them using WhatsApp's rules, where it says, hey, I would like to send you messages on WhatsApp, and they have to accept that. And as in SMS land, if I just have your number, I can just start sending you SMS messages. Not necessarily supposed to, but I could. So I think that, there is that extra step. I think that there are some additional limitations and capability, but that I would not let that stop you at all. And also, from what I understand in some conversations with Sean, I think that they are expecting to be able to they're expecting to have some development breakthroughs with WhatsApp that are going to allow them to have more similar capabilities here in the very near future. So again, if you're in parts of the world where WhatsApp is king and the costs are prohibitive for a business to even use SMS consistently, I think you just go with it. Dorn says, I get cold WhatsApp messages all the time. Yes, I do too, Dorn, but that's not legal or within WhatsApp's API rules for a business to do that. So in order for us to operate businesses where we are consistently using WhatsApp to communicate with customers, if we don't follow that API rule step, obviously the API will get shut down very quickly. So we have to take that step. Let's see here. I think. Oh no, here we go. 3 times markup on phone and SMS. This is from Shonda. Shonda says in the 9-6 office hours, Mike talked about markup. As an example, he used a $100 foot in the door strategy for SMS emailing and offering a $100 credit with a 3x markup. I have trouble wrapping my head around the math, but can anyone confirm was just correct? Will I be making $100 even if a client uses the entire $100 credit? Or will I be making additional based on the 3x markup after that? Or am I only making money once the client has used the $100 credit? All right, Shonda. So yeah, sorry, I understand that this one can be a bit confusing. And what I should do, but I'm not going to do because it's going to take a while to boot it up since it's off right now, is use my digital whiteboard to draw and show you here. But if you have sold a service for $100 and you give them $100 in credit for your, let's just say for SMS, just to keep it simple, but you have marked up that SMS 3 times, and let's just say for practical purposes, relatively easy math, your cost on that $100 in SMS services that you're going to deliver to them because you gave them $100 credit is $33, right? 33 times 3, and that would get you to 99, essentially 100, okay? So your cost on that would be $33, all right? Does that make sense? So you're giving them $100 credit, but the $100 credit is for your services, which you have baked in your margin for. So they spend $100 or use $100 in services. They've already spent the 100 when they signed up with you. They use $100 in services. You have $33 in cost on those services at the 3x markup. You control that markup. You could do it whatever you want. You do it at 4x, and then it would only be $25 for that cost. You have total control over that. But that is how you're going to determine the cost. It's going to be based on that markup that you did. Okay. So then will you be making more money for every additional dollar of service that they use after that? Yes, at that same markup. So if they used $1 more in service, you have a 33-cent cost, you'd be making 67 cents. Okay. I hope that helps you. I understand it could be a little funny where you're like, wait a minute, somebody just paid me $100 and I gave them $100 in credit. Does that mean I'm making no money? No, it doesn't mean that you're making no money. It means that you're making the money based on your markup strategy. Okay. So I hope that helps you. All right. Back to the questions here. Awesome, AT. It's good to see you. I'm glad you could join us, sir. Dawson says, hit a little rough patch, a little under the weather. Sorry about that, Dawson. We wish you a speedy recovery. Congratulations, AT, 19th anniversary. I love it. Mike, what are your thoughts on the new custom objects feature in High Level? This is really cool, AT. If you are not aware, High Level has rolled out what they're calling these custom objects capabilities. This essentially gives us the ability to do more customization of what High Level is and how we're presenting it to our customers. It's in early days of it. And so, expect that as with anything High Level rolls out, right? They've got their strategy for skateboard to car or skateboard to jet plane or whatever they call it there, where they roll out the initial essential features to get the thing out and start getting feedback from the marketplace, which, as I talked about earlier, the most important thing that you can do is get real feedback from the marketplace. And this strategy has obviously proved very effective for them. I think I think it's going to be a really, really amazing feature set and capability for us. So, and the reason why I say that is if you are today providing services to dentists versus providing services to auto mechanics, okay? Yes, the core features of High Level could be presented to either of those markets, and theoretically, all the core features apply to both of those markets. But of course, there are going to be some things that are more valuable for the dentist versus the auto mechanics and vice versa. And there's going to be data that you want to collect and use that's going to be different for the dentist versus the auto mechanic. And so with these custom objects, you're now going to be able to more to define what high level is in a more custom way and present those features and use those features and capabilities with your customers in a different way depending on their individual needs. So it's almost as if high level, if you could imagine that high level is going to start to become more and more of these just kind of like Lego building blocks of capabilities that you could assemble them, whichever of those Legos, whichever way that you want to be most effective for your customer base and your strategy and the way that you're presenting your services in the marketplace. And I can do the same in a totally different way. And so, yes, we're both using high level, but we're both using high level in a unique way based on our strategy and our customer needs. So, I think it's going to be a very, very important and impactful capability that right now is in early days, but I think it's going to be a big one. I think it's going to be a real big one. So let's see here. Sam says, I picked the health and wellness industry as my niche. Awesome, Sam. I think that's amazing. Is it necessary to localize this to run a successful business? Should I niche down more, starting out with just fitness? Okay. So Sam, yeah, if we were to go back to that presentation here, let me just pull that up real quick again. If we were to go back to that presentation, on the left-hand side of that final slide, you can see these niche segmentation factors. So I think when people think of the niche, they typically are thinking of an industry, right? Do I want to serve restaurants or dentists? Okay, I think that's that top one. But there are lots of ways to segment a market to create a specific niche, right? Functional. So by functional, I mean, are you a reputation focused business, or are you a lead generation focused business, or are you a content creation focused business? You could all be serving the exact same set of customers, but those are three different functional niches. There's geographic. So you mentioned localizing. There's demographics. So within the health and wellness market, you could focus on businesses that are serving women versus men, just as an example. Psychographics in that market. So I don't know, just trying to think of a specific example of that one. I don't know. I'll come back to that one maybe here. But profession within a market. So you could be selling to specific people within an industry, right? So typically, when you're selling to small businesses, you're always just kind of selling to the business owner, right? But if you're selling into larger businesses, for sure, you could sell just to chief operating officers, just to chief financial officers, right? There's all these specific professions within that market that you could segment by. And then buying behavior, how do they buy, is an incredibly important one. When you're selling to any type of business, the buying behavior, how they buy, can be very, very different between markets. And that is something that you will really want to pay attention to, because that can really change your cost structure and your length of your sales cycle, right? So there's a number of different things that you consider there, Sam. I do think so. Health and wellness is huge, right? That's incredibly broad. So I do think that it's going to be your best bet to try to narrow down on some specific segments within that market to create your niche. And then in terms of localizing it, do you have to localize it? No. I mean, there's going to be health and wellness provider. I mean, let's just say that you said, I want to do, yoga studios. Well, there's yoga studios everywhere. Depending on where you live, it may not be a good idea to localize it at all, right? Because maybe where you live in a small town and there's 2 yoga studios, and obviously you don't want to be limited by that. And so you will need to have a more expansive approach to it. I have always taken a non-localized approach in my businesses. And the reason why is exactly what I just said there previously. I don't want to be limited by just what's in my backyard. I want to be able to scale up and serve customers everywhere. Um, that has its own set of challenges versus selling locally. Sean from High Level has seen in his experience across, tens of thousands of agencies now, that people who start by selling locally tend to get momentum easier and have better than long-term success because of it. And the reason why is because he has found that if people can just walk out into their own town in their own backyard and shake hands with people and go to an event and meet somebody, it's a little less intimidating and requires less budget to get those initial customers versus if you're taking a more national or global approach, you're going to have to create and distribute content or ads or something that is going to get you out into the marketplace in that more expansive way. That takes money to do that well, takes experience. So, I think you've got to determine kind of which is the right starting point for you. And of course, you're not married to anything. I mean, if you start local, get your first handful of customers, and then say, no, I want to do this on a bigger, wider approach, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay. So I hope that helps you, Sam. Let's see here. How do you manage fulfillment once you get multiple clients? Colin, you've got to build a fulfillment team. I think the very first hire that just about everybody should make is that you have a right hand service operations person, right? Somebody that's going to do the day to day of following up with support issues, making sure that people can get into their accounts, that they get the training that they need, things like that. And if, as part of your service, you are providing any sort of managed service, so in other words, you've set up all the marketing systems for them, but as part of your service, you said, we're going to send your newsletter out for you every week because we know that that's a tough one for you to get to. We've seen our customers struggle with, consistently getting a newsletter out the door, but it's so important, so high value that we have baked it into our service that we're just going to do that for you. Okay. Well, then having somebody that obviously can execute that every week, and ultimately, in my experience, you end up with an account manager and then a team of service fulfillment people under that account manager. And that can be, depending on how exactly you're delivering services and how important that account management role is, that will determine how many of those service fulfillment people per account manager. Okay. Let's see here. The workshop you recommend on selling reputation reviews. If a business creates a QR code to go directly to Google, what makes Go High Level any better for getting them reviews? If a business creates a QR code to go directly to Google, what makes Go High Level any better for getting them reviews? David, I'm not sure that I could. So if you make a QR code that goes directly to Google, well, then Go High Level wouldn't be any better for getting them reviews. But if you made it go to a Go High Level review capture process, then of course you could have some more sophistication in there in terms of how you are collecting that review, responding to that review, choosing when and where to publish that review. So that is what would make High Level superior versus going straight to Google. But obviously the QR code would need to go to High Level in that place. So if you are referring to, David, the technology that I shared from Jeff, from Jeff Ford or Hershey, that's, I know he has, I believe he has integrated with High Level at this point, but what was special about his approach to me is mostly just the front end sales and marketing of it. It was less to me about exactly where the review goes first. It was mostly about the sales marketing strategy because I just think it was a great foot in the door. So something to consider there. James says, I agree. OpenAI just valued at 150 billion. They have 200 million paid users, amazing size and growth. Oof, yeah, you can say that again. How do you manage recurring services for customers who pay for additional done for you services, newsletters, social media posts? Is this done in high level or software like Asana? Yeah, so AT, if you're going to sell like one off kind of project based services like that, I manage that outside of high level. Um, and I've always had essentially, as quickly as I could, a projects team. And that project team may just be one person. And maybe they manage some things with subcontractors, stuff like that. As you know, AT, I'm not a big fan of doing anything custom. I know we've talked about this many times. So hopefully, the additional done for you services, you're selling just like a very cookie cutter menu of options. Add a new web page to our website, write a new blog post, whatever, basic things like that, where you can do them very consistently and with cookie cutter tools and cookie cutter approach. And then, yes, you will need to have somebody that ultimately, if you're going to sell that at volume, you're going to have somebody that's dedicated to fulfilling those services, because the fulfillment of those services are very different than the fulfillment of your core recurring services. And it will just be a distraction to somebody who's doing, the core recurring services. And you don't want that to happen, because that's your lifeblood of your business. Okay. Yes, James, absolutely. Why complicate the system? Dorn, I think you're referring to the custom objects. Or are you talking about the WhatsApp integration? I don't know. Your marketing systems provider business model seems great, though I know it worked for your previous business, but what about go high level? Have you tried it yourself to see if it does work and sell? Yes, absolutely. And I myself am, in the market every day working with small businesses. And go high level just makes it all just dramatically easier. I can tell you my first two businesses, when we were selling like this systems based approach, the systems were entirely cobbled together with whatever, variety of tools we could get. And then we'd, essentially duct tape them together with process and extra effort. This is why I'm so adamant that if you're selling agency services or marketing services to small businesses, you have to use high level today. I really don't think that there's any other viable option, unless the functional niche that you're focused on is something that just high level doesn't even do. So let's say it's, you're going to create Instagram reels for small businesses. Okay. Well, that's not high level's thing, but there are other tools out there that you would use, right? But if you're selling general marketing systems and services to small businesses, you have to use high level today, because there's no other platform out there that even comes close in terms of the combination of capabilities and the fact, and this is the critical fact that people leave out sometimes when they're looking at other options, is the margins that high level allows you to operate your business at. You could theoretically find some other platforms that you can resell and stuff like that, but they take way too high of margins for you to actually have a successful business. It just will not work. So, I mean, does it work with high level? Absolutely. It makes your life dramatically easier. Okay. Jennifer, yes. Also wondering how many clients you hire your first employee and what role should they play? Jennifer, it's a great question. So when you hire them I found that there's a high degree of personal variability in the way that people approach this. I know people that will only hire somebody once they have a year of salary saved for that person. So if I think I'm going to pay that person $75,000 for the year, I want to have $75,000 in the bank to make sure that I'll be able to pay that person for a year. I mean, that's awesome, because you're creating a safety net for that person. And I think that that's very admirable. I've never taken that approach. I just haven't. I have always been way faster than that. And thankfully never had to lay anybody off just because we were struggling with cash flow. Thank goodness. But for me, I have always been a bit more aggressive, a bit more confident in my ability to sell and generate cash flow. And I have always wanted to make sure that we were trying our damnedest to invest a little bit ahead of our service requirements. You know what I mean? So, like, Jennifer, I see you said you just signed your second client today. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Everybody give it up for Jennifer. So, Jennifer, what you will probably find is, let's say you get to 5 clients here pretty quickly and you're doing everything yourself. What's going to happen pretty darn fast is you're going to start taking away from some of your selling time, and or your service delivery is not going to be as effective as you would like it to be. You know that you could be doing better, right? And you're going to then be in a position where you have to either live with that for a little bit longer to save some more money, to be able to afford to hire somebody, or hire somebody when it still makes you nervous as hell to do it, but you feel confident. Yeah, but I've signed 5 clients already. I know that if I just kept chugging away, I'd be at 10. And at 10, I can cover this person's pay, and I'm just going to keep driving forward. That's always been my approach. There's more risk in it, and I think that you have to be very transparent with who you're hiring, that they're coming on board in a startup situation that's very high risk, and they have to want that and be excited about that, or else don't do it. But that's that's my approach. Now, ultimately, Jennifer, this should get metric based. In other words, you should know that with our service delivery approach, we can support 50 customers for every service fulfillment team member. So then you're going to have a more thoughtful planning approach. You're going to see, okay, we're signing up 5 new clients every month. By the time I get to 40 clients, I want to hire the next person, give us some time to train them so that by the time we hit that 50, we're fully up to speed. You're going to use those metrics to drive when you hire. Okay. And I will say that one of the challenges to be aware of in any business like this is that there are these stair-step moments that are hard. And you have to decide how aggressive you want to be about growth. Let me just give you an example, just kind of making up some numbers. But let's say you get to $1 million in revenue, and you've got this nice service delivery going, you've got a nice sales tempo going, you're making some money. You can make a decision to kind of stay near that and just kind of organically, maybe grow a little bit, but mostly just be really focused on retention and profitability, and say, okay, how can I just squeeze a really nice life out of this $1 million, right? So, get your business to 35% net margins. You're making $350,000 a year. You've got a tight operation. Awesome. Or you go, no, I really want to push for 3 million, right? Like we're at $1 million now, but I know we can do it. To go from 1 million to 3 million, I always just refer to it as the stair step thing. You've got this big step in front of you that you've got to go up. And what I mean by that is to go from 1 million to 3 million, you're not going to just incrementally add another person and another person. What you're going to end up doing is, oh, geez, now I've got to get a new salesperson. I've also got to get a new sales manager. I've got to get a new account manager. I need to get that account manager on early enough to really get them fully up to speed before I hand them over to customers. So I need to hire them 3 months in advance. I need to add 2 or 3 new service people to support that account manager. Like there tends to be this leap. When you decide to push for that kind of growth pace, there tends to be those leaps. And my experience, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, like those all have these investments that have to be made, and you're going to have to, think that through. And those are all wonderful problems to have to solve, and that's why you get why you get paid the big bucks. But those are the types of things that you'll have to address and obviously be very thoughtful about, and be very thoughtful about what the heck you want out of your business personally. Because again, these are lifestyle businesses. You should make sure you're clear about the lifestyle that you want, because having 50 employees versus 10 employees, it's, you are juggling just a lot more things. You just really are. There's benefits to it as well. It's pros and cons. Ashray says, I use WhatsApp-based workflows. I think it presents better capabilities compared to SMS, and it works better than SMS in my country, India. Awesome. I love that. What do you suggest for over-delivering during the onboarding phase to create loyal customers? That's a great question, AT. There's a couple things. One is trying to find and deliver a quick win, something where you're going to be able to show them very quickly that the value proposition is there, right? I signed up with you for whatever dollars a month, and all of a sudden, boom, you demonstrated quickly that I'm going to get that value or more out of this investment. So whatever quick win you can do. It's one of the things I love about giving a business a new website. People get so excited when you give them a new website and it changes the look and feel of their business, which to some degree changes that sense of identity for the business. That's a big deal, right? If you're out selling to the world and you've got some crummy website that you're not really proud of, and then all of a sudden you've got this sexy website that just makes you look good, it changes how you feel about your business every day, right? It's kind of like if you're going out and selling and all you have is ratty clothes, and all of a sudden somebody gives you a really nice tailored outfit to be able to wear, you just feel better. So when you can deliver that kind of value quickly, which AT, I know you know a lot about websites, you can do that. That's a great quick win. Obviously, though, the quick win needs to be dependent on what are the problems that the customer perceives, right? You don't want to just give them something, just give them something. And then AT, honestly, expectation setting, communication, and follow through. The far majority of service providers fail at expectation, communication, and follow through, just execution. And if you go through my onboarding training, AT, inside a high leverage agency, I talk about how if you can demonstrate to them that you can lead the way, that you are going to take charge. You just signed up with me as a customer. I'm going to take charge and I'm going to lead the way for you. You're in good hands. Just that alone is so differentiating from most service providers that it just creates this sense of confidence that I made the right decision by investing in you. And that confidence is everything to keep retention. Okay. So it's pretty basic things like that, AT. And that's a reality in the service business. In any service business, it's about execution, right? It's not about anything too much fancier than that. Ashray says, as a reputation and resale focused business, what's the best way to show quick wins to my dentist customer? I'm asking to get a better perspective. Well, I got to be real honest with you. I haven't worked with a ton of dentists, so I don't know. I've worked with chiropractors. On the reputation side, I'm not 100% sure about a quick win. I mean, unless they're like just not capturing reviews and things like that right now. I don't know about a quick win. I was going to say reputation has a lot of factors. So if by reputation you mean just like reviews, which I found a lot of people that's what they think, then it's a little bit harder one to get a quick win or to make too much change too quickly if they're already collecting some sort of reviews. But you can't. I mean, there's things you can do. To me, reputation encompasses so much, though. Do they have a nice website? Website is a massive factor in reputation in today's world. If not, could you give them a new website very quickly? Reputation is driven by how responsive are you as a business. So if I try and get in touch with you, Do I reach somebody? Can I book my appointment quickly? Do I hear from somebody with follow-up, about the appointment, things like that? You could obviously use things like the chat widget AI, things like that, to make sure that you are showing that that business is available and ready to do business. Those things impact reputation. So, there's a lot that goes into reputation. I actually just did a promotion for a dentist here in San Diego that was content. So this guy has a wonderful practice. He's been around forever, but you can have a wonderful practice as a dentist and be around forever. Nobody really knows who you are except for your existing patients, right? And so we put together just a nice content piece and we promoted that using Facebook ads in his market. In 30 days, we generated hundreds of clicks to his business. So that obviously impacts reputation. You're getting the word out about that business. You're presenting a story about that business and sharing it publicly. So hopefully that helps you out, and giving you like at least some ideas that maybe beyond just like reviews. And then on the resale side of things, I mean, again, it depends on that business's current behavior. But if they're a business that hasn't been doing like any sort of good outreach to their patients, and I mean, when I say good outreach, good marketing outreach, I mean, I'm sure they're doing basic patient follow up in terms of, here's your next appointment, things like that. But if they haven't done any marketing at all, just any business that hasn't been really doing any proactive marketing to a list, if you just get any sort of campaign out the door with any sort of offer, it's going to generate business for them. And so that can be a very nice, quick win for them to see. Right. So I hope that helps you. Jason, good to see you, sir. Just hired my first developer. Awesome. How do you manage team projects, project management tools, video or Slack meetings on a recurring basis, or something else to ensure projects stay on track? Yeah. So, Jason, Slack. In Slack, I don't know if you've seen, it's rolled out some actual basic project management features now, like to-do list style type of things within Slack. That's probably enough to serve our needs as a business now. We have used Asana for years. I don't know that I need to keep using Asana now because we use a tiny fraction of the capabilities in Asana. And then, Jason, I think just like a weekly quick huddle, the whole team huddle concept is super powerful. So if you just have a weekly huddle where it's, hey, what's on track, what's off track, what's stuck, where do you need help, that type of thing. And then I would insist on a very high degree of visibility in terms of those updates from anybody that is working for you. So in other words, like we've always used like our daily scorecards and dashboards and things like that are metric driven and then reported based on color. So in other words, let's just say I think it was in the last call, I talked about how we use Net Promoter Score to get feedback from customers. If our Net Promoter Score drops to a certain point, it would be colored red and everybody would be able to see, that's red. If it was super green, which we had, we had red, yellow, green. Super green means that we were hitting well above our target metric. Green means we're hitting our target metric range. Yellow, caution. Red, we're in trouble. Having just like that kind of transparency, that simple transparency every week where your project manager gives you just a super simple report. Here's my 3 key things that I'm being measured on. And they're right now, green, yellow, yellow. All right. Why are they yellow? What are we doing to get them green? Great. Let's get to it. See you next week. Right. Just that very simple communication and transparency goes a long way. So, Jason, then I try and keep everything asynchronous in my business at this point. So other than that quick huddle, I try and keep everything asynchronous. So I'm looking for people to update me within systems, update me within Slack, update me within the project management tools so I can review them when I want on my time. Rather than having to have meetings as much as possible. There's value in meetings if they're good meetings and they're well run and they have a clear objective. but don't just put meetings on your calendar, just have meetings, or else, you know, you end up just sitting in meetings. Actually says using Go High Level can filter out negative reviews. Yep. Yep. That's awesome. Two-step consultative sales process where I ask about their business first, and the second call, sell my system. Should I do the audit before or wait until after they're on board? AT, you can kind of take a little bit of a combo approach here. So I love the idea of a super abbreviated version of the audit that as soon as you are getting into some sort of consultative sales call with somebody, that you could do that very, very brief audit starting before the call and then during the call, right? I mean, they're just diagnostic questions, right? Some things you're going to be able to see. You're going to be able to look at their website and see, is it mobile optimized or not? You're going to be able to look at their reviews and see that. So some of these types of things you can answer before you ever have any real interaction with them. But then on the call, you can ask some additional questions, not necessarily presenting any of that as an audit. But the reality is you're filling in the blanks for you. Okay. Then in the service delivery, once you've brought on that customer, doing an audit that then really helps you plan out your surge in the surge to SaaS. If you're taking that approach, then that's when I would do that. Now, some services you don't need to do an audit, or it's just a super abbreviated version of that. So I just hope that you consider the audit as a tool. Use it when it makes sense for you. Incorporate it into your process the way it makes sense for you. Don't let it become a hindrance in any way. Awesome. Yes, Jennifer. Absolutely. Is 35% where it's at? I'm sorry, I'm missing that. Is 35% where it's at? Help me out with that, Jennifer. What is that? The 35% where it's at? Let's see here. Andy says, in your R4 or 6 model, is it wise to add multiple surge moments for extra services via QBRs to simplify and add value for customers? Wondering if that becomes an extra revenue opportunity with add-ons. Yes. So Andy, yes, I think that this comes down a bit to your specific model. So some people are taking an approach where their services are as close to tools as they can. So in other words, I'm setting up the customers and I'm letting it, run in an almost self-managed, self-driven way as much as humanly possible, right? So the customers are managing the software. Then your account management function is going to be very, 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 very limited. And you should probably just keep it that way, right? Because you're lowering your cost structure, and it's really all about the systems retaining the customer. It's much less about a human approach, okay? On the other hand, if you are selling more of like a managed marketing system, so you're actually helping them run the marketing system. Your team is involved with their team, helping them, supporting them, sharing best practices with them, guiding them, things like that. Then the account management function is going to be a more hands-on and bigger investment in your, as a part of your business. And in that case, your account managers become, your best salespeople to a large degree, because they're selling to existing customers who they already have an ongoing relationship with and have trust, right? Those customers have trust with them. So yes, those QBRs, quarterly business reviews, for anybody who's wondering about that acronym, those become incredibly valuable because, and this is key, Andy. We never really gave too much incentive for our account managers to sell because we didn't want them to be pressuring our customers. For us, it was just all about retention, right? That should be everybody's, just very clearly. Always keep in mind, your business model is 100% about recurring revenue. So it's all about retention. It's not about upsells. Upsells are awesome. Okay. Upsells add margin to our business. It's fantastic. I'm not saying that we don't do those. I'm saying that incentives really matter with your team. And if you over incentivize on those upsells, you're going to create pressure, right? Your team is going to be pressuring people to buy because they're like, ooh, I get this commission. Okay. So we were always very, very careful about giving our team any incentives to upsell. But it just happens, Andy. I mean, if you're doing a QBR and they trust you and you're delivering good services and you're sitting down and you're going, yeah, what's going well? What's not going well? Oh, you're having troubles with this. Oh, well, as it turns out, we do have this extra capability that I think would be a very good fit for you. Here's what's entailed. Here's how much it costs. Would you like to get started with that? It's just a very natural, easy sale, and it's going to happen. Okay. So yes, that team then becomes that account management team becomes an incredible sales force for you, Andy. And then the execution of the surge related to those additional services, though, still ideally is going to go to a team of people ultimately that end up that's all they're focused on. They're really focused on surges and project work, right? So we talked a little bit about the project team with AT earlier. You're going to end up having a team of people that all they do is the projects that are associated with upsells and doing the surge during the initial onboarding of a customer. Okay, because that's all that one-off work. So the account manager obviously is going to be in the loop on that and communicating with that team and making sure that things are going well. But they're not necessarily and probably should not be involved in the actual execution of it. Okay. I hope that helps you, Andy. Awesome. Good. Let me know if you have any other questions. Oh, Jennifer's asking 35% margin. Is that where it's at? Well, 35% net margin is a great margin. And let's be very clear. I'm talking about net margin. Okay. I'm not talking about gross margin. Gross margin, you need to be at 65% or higher, in my opinion. In my experience, you need to be at 65% or higher gross margins. And higher is better in dramatic ways. Okay. So if you go from 60% margins to 70% margins, your life changes. If you go from 70% margins to 80% margins, your life changes again. Okay. Because a business that's running at 50% gross margins, which is actually typical in the industry, 50%, because people, I mean, honestly, because a lot of people don't even really understand gross margins and their impact. And so they're kind of a little bit blindly just cruising along at 50% margins. If you go from, let's just do the math to make sure everybody really understands this. If you go from 50% gross margins to 65% or 67% gross margins, what has to happen in your price versus your cost? Somebody tell me quickly. And if this is not stuff that just immediately, intuitively you grasp as an entrepreneur, you need to study gross margins, cost of goods sold, and the impact of those things on net margins. But somebody just tell me real quick to go from 57 to 50% gross margins to 67% gross margins, what has to happen? Because this is very eye-opening. Because in your brain, you're going, oh, to go from 50 to 67, it's 17%. But I'm waiting. Somebody's got to give me the answer. Come on, darn it. Somebody's got to give me this one. Okay, double says ATE. You're getting to it. Okay, let me just tell you. All right, to go from can I pull up a calculator that you can see? I don't know that I can, but if you guys get out your calculator, to go from to get 50% gross margins, you have to double your cost. Okay, so if I have if it costs me $50 to deliver my service and I want 50% gross margins, I have to double that as my price. So I have $100 as my price. My costs are 50. My margin then, my gross margin is 50 as well. The 100 minus the 50 is 50. And that's 50 divided into 100. That's 50% gross margins. Okay. I have to double the cost of my product that I'm delivering. To go to the 67% gross margins, I have to triple the cost. So to get that extra bump in percentage gross margins, I have to triple. Okay, do the math. If you go from 50 to 150, so 50 is your cost, 150 is your price, we tripled it. Okay, my cost out of that 50 now is 33%. I mean, my cost, the 50 out of that 150 is now 33%, right? It's 1/3. So I have 67% gross margins. Okay. So to get that 17% bump in my gross margins, 50 to 67, I had to triple my markup instead of double my markup. That's a huge leap. Okay. If you just think about that example, I went from having $50 left to work with to fund my business to having $100 left to work with to fund my business. I now have $100 in gross margin instead of that $50, right? So that's a huge financial impact on me as a business. So percentages can mask reality, right? So when we talk about gross margin percentages versus gross margin dollars, okay, then you are you really got to understand those numbers and the impact. Okay, super important. So anyway, 65% or higher gross margins or 67% gross margins to keep it easy. If you can get it up to 70, 75, 80, your life is so much better. All right. So just keep on pushing those gross margins high and design your services deliberately to make sure that you have them. Now, Jennifer, what that leads to is the difference between 5% net income, 20% net income, 35% net income, right? And those numbers move dramatically based on your gross margin impact. Okay, and you can see why, right? We just went from a $50 usable margin in our gross margins to $100. So you can do shocking things to your profitability. Let's say at $50 in gross margin dollars, you were dropping $5 to the bottom line. That's 10%, right? It was 10% of your 100 that you were selling at. I'm sorry. That is 5% of your $100 that you were selling at. So a 5% net income is not unusual in business, right? Lots of businesses that are cruising along at that 5% and just not really healthy, don't really have cash to invest in the growth of the business. If you had an extra $50 in gross margin now, and let's say you were able to drop half of that now to the bottom line, or a third of that, or whatever to the bottom line, your net income profit would go up 4 times, 5 times. So it wouldn't be a small increase in the net income. It would be a huge, dramatic increase in your net income. Okay. So yes, Jennifer, if you can get your net income to 35%, you're honestly, you're doing very, very well, right? At that level, you have enough cash being generated to really invest in the growth of your business, plus take some money out, that type of thing. At around 20% net income, you probably have enough to really fund good growth at your business or take really good money out of your business, one of the other, not both at the same time, probably. So, those are just kind of some, super rough, obviously, benchmarks to think through, but I think helpful nonetheless. Okay. Ashray, have you had any issues with gating pushback? That's the term for what you're doing. It's against Google's and FTC's in the USA to that. Yeah. So that is definitely in the United States. That's a that's one you have to be careful with for sure. Gating reviews. AT says, so instead of a done for you model, build our systems with a core set of assets and create training for customers to create their own assets going forward, teaching them how to fish. I wouldn't say that, AT. I would just say that there is a difference between creating more new assets and managing the ongoing marketing for somebody. So in other words, let's say that you created the super duper restaurant marketing system and it included these capabilities, and you deliver those capabilities to the restaurant, and you're able to make all of that simple enough that the restaurant just runs those capabilities all day, every day. Every once in a while, they have support questions from you and stuff like that. But generally speaking, the restaurant and the restaurant employees are going to be using that system on their own each day, right? You've got a review capture thing, you got a birthday marketing system thing, you got a coupon thing, whatever it is. And those are simple enough that the restaurant is in there using them every day on their own. That's great. Now, 6 months from now, you may say, oh, High Level came out with this new capability that we can now create a totally new additional capability for that system and roll that out to our restaurant customers. So now they have an anniversary, marketing system as well. Awesome. So you have improved the system. You've created new assets or improvement in the asset. The restaurant is still going to manage their own marketing. They're still going to use the system on their own with, again, occasional support from you. But the expectation is the restaurant is just using it. Okay. That is like an ideal world. You're just focused on improving the system and then offering whatever support is necessary to keep them in the system. Okay. Versus there's a more managed service approach. So you may find no matter what the heck you do with those restaurants, I mean, they're the busiest people in the world. And the way that they're busy is not sitting at computers. The way that they're busy is slinging food, dishes, taking care of customers, all that type of stuff. So to then put in their lap, oh, here's, a bunch of computer work you need to do too. That may just never happen. It may not be realistic. It may be that you need to manage the system for them. So there's one thing to create the system and put the system in place. There's another thing to manage the system for them. And that's why I call a managed service. Okay. So not all industries need that, want that. Not all services need that or want that. But some services and some industries will need that. They'll need the management as well. And so that needs to be a part of your service delivery. It needs to be a part of your cost structure that you've, designed into it. So I hope that helps you, AT. So, I don't think, to me, there is no scenario where I think that we should be expecting small businesses to create their own system assets in High Level. Like I don't, it's not like you should expect that restaurant owner or chiropractor or whatever is going to go through your training videos and then sit down and start building their own funnels and workflows. I don't think that should be your expectation at all. Okay. I think that's setting you and them up for failure. Okay. Cost to deliver the service must decrease or the price must increase, right? Yes. This person keeps asking this over and over again. Jennifer, yes. Make sure that you understand financials and gross margins, cash flow, things like that. Those are all, that's the lifeblood of a small business. Max says, big fan of your systems. Thank you. Sitting at the FB lead form sync at the moment. My client got 4 campaigns. Can I automatically create custom fields for the different Facebook forms? I wish I could tell you, Max. That is not my area of expertise. I haven't used Facebook forms in quite some time. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you an answer to that. Ideally for cold outreach, are we pitching our system or a foot in the door offer? Do you have a cold call script we can use and any tips for closing? Yeah, I've got all kinds of cold call scripts, AT. AT, are you in high leverage agency? If you're not, get in there, but if you are, yes, there's cold call scripts in there. And whether or not you're pitching your system or a foot in the door offer with a cold call, in today's world, I would never, I personally would never try and pitch my full system with a cold call. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. Okay, awesome. Go down to the script, go down to the scripts and resources, templates and resources, or whatever it's called, AT. You'll find scripts in there. If you don't, just, shoot me a message. I'll get them all to you. But I personally would never try and pitch the full system in a cold call these days. I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm just saying it's such a slow, costly, painful process to cold call that way. And to build business that way. I would way rather see you attract people in with content marketing so that by the time they get to you, right? I've got people on this call right now. Big fan of your systems. I have not talked to these people before this call, right? But they've seen my content, so they understand the systems approach. They understand the benefits of it before they ever get to me. I would much rather that you invest in that or pitch your foot in the door with a cold call. Much easier to call somebody up and go, hey, AT, I was looking at your website. You see, it's been years since it's been updated and it's not mobile optimized. We've got an incredible offer right now for businesses in the San Diego area where we'll build you a free website. It's going to be mobile optimized using all the best practices. It's going to have these 12 growth features built into it, and we'll do it for free right now. And I know you're wondering what the hook is, what the catch is. The catch is just that you're paying us for hosting going forward, just like you would any other hosting provider. So, would love to get you the details on that, right? It's an easy, understandable pitch. It's simple. And that's why foot in the doors work, because they're simple. They're simple messages. They're simple value propositions. Versus if you try and call somebody up and, hey, AT, we help, businesses grow by using proven marketing systems. I'd love to have a conversation with you about, how those systems could help your business. Okay. That script can work, is absolutely worked. And they go, okay, well, what the heck do you mean by proven marketing systems? Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like my email, my email service, that type of thing? Yeah, I am actually talking about your email, but in every business, there are these proven marketing systems that, email absolutely in today's world being one of them, but there's lots of other ones. It just gets very complicated very quickly. And you have to move to this transition of, hey, I know I caught you off guard. What if we set up a time? I can walk you through exactly what I mean by these systems, maybe give you a quick demo. All of that can absolutely work. It's just from a cold start, you're asking somebody to stop their day, listen to what you're saying, comprehend what you're saying, determine if that makes any sense for them. It's a much more difficult process than just, do I need a new website? I would like a new website. This guy's telling me he'll give me a website for free. Okay. It's just much simpler to understand. So I would definitely suggest, if you're going to do cold calling, you focus on those simple offers. Okay. Andy says, are simple snapshots, funnels, workflows included with your program? Yes, absolutely, Andy. Yep. Absolutely. We have a number of them, Andy, but the R4 and the R6 are our two main things. The R4 is sales and marketing side of things. R6 is service delivery side of things. And the R6 in particular is very, it's got a lot to it. Not that you have to use all of it, but it's just got a lot in there so that you can use it. Okay. Always KISS. That's right. Keep it simple. That's right. All right, gang. We are an hour and a half into it, and we've got to wait. Wait, hold on, Dawson. My man, give us the update. We can't wrap these up without an update from Dawson. Let's hear it.
I'm in the office for once today.
Nice. Looks good.
My question was, would selling without a good structure and customers finding out I have poor delivery and me being embarrassed about myself that by my services having poor delivery, would that be the key to business?
So you mean by being willing to go through that at first? Is that what you're saying? Like to be willing to
Because, like, what other ways would drive me to make a structure good enough to facilitate the customers? So I feel like I'm caught in the middle.
Well, I think that what you can do, I mean, what you could do day one is you could absolutely um, design by interviewing your potential customers, talking to your potential customers about their needs, their challenges, things like that. You could design from day one what should be a pretty solid service delivery structure and process, right? So I don't think you have to start from complete loosey goosey, like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing and I'm just kind of winging it. I think that you can start from a pretty, a deliberately designed approach, and get a long way that way. But I do have to say that in my experience, your service to you will never be good enough. As the entrepreneur, you're always going to be driven crazy by something that you know that you could be and should be doing better, and
Mm,
that's a good thing. That is a psychological driver of progress, right? And so you will probably always, to a large extent, feel that way. If you um, if you are getting that feedback consistently from customers, though, that they're like, hey man, this service is just really lacking, that's different. That's different, right? That is the market telling you, hey, wait a minute, you need to be doing something different. um, so make sure that you're keeping those two things separate in your mind, because they are separate things, because as an
mm.
entrepreneur, you're always, I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't feel like everything should be better all the time and it's driving them crazy, right? But your customers may not feel that way. And so you got to listen to the feedback that they're giving you too, to provide some balance to this, um or you may not be reacting to the right information in the right way and causing yourself some problems. Does that make sense?
Like, are the customers forgiving enough that even though I have a product and I'm promoting it, that I'm just simply letting them know that I'm working on something? Like, that the selling piece of the puzzle I have is better than not having it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand. Let me. So there are just as many different types of customers as there are different types of people and personalities, right? And so you're going to find some customers that are very reasonable and very easy to work with and give you constructive feedback and are patient. And you're going to find some customers that are a nightmare. And their expectations are that you should do everything and bend over backwards for them and do it all for no money, practically, right?
Mhm.
So you're going to find all types out there. Um, in my experience, if you're humble and you are communicating aggressively, you're keeping people up to date, and you're honest about, hey, we're going to work our butt off to try and deliver this and deliver the value that you're looking for and do it on time and all that good stuff. Um, that people are generally understanding, and not only understanding, but they admire it. I mean, if they see you working hard and doing your hustle and you're just being honest with them and direct with them, um, my experience, like I said, is that people understand that, respect that. Um, and I think that maybe during this stage, Dawson, that you're asking about, I think, consider giving people deals for a period of time.
Yeah.
Maybe don't charge your absolute fullest prices for a period of time, and acknowledge to them, hey, we're getting started. Our prices are normally going to be whatever, $4.97 a month. We would love to offer you, the $2.97 a month for the first 6 months to help us. As we get experience, we understand there'll be some bumps in the road, and we just want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that and have some patience with that, and maybe that'll help incentivize you to do that. Like, I think that's like a that's something to consider doing. Again, maybe to help you with your own psychology, but also to give them a little bit of a financial, they might feel a little bit of a financial incentive, and that might matter to them as well.
Luckily, I have quite a few reference experiences and as well feedback from customers. I just need to capture that and then use that for further leads.
Yeah.
So I guess just to put it in perspective, I was just looking at what about the brands that have good delivery but poor marketing on the other hand? So that's a piece that they don't have. So I have a piece that other businesses don't have, except for some of the service delivery. So at least right now I'm putting in the effort to have one of the pieces together, and then I'm just working on the other piece right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you should always be doing the sales and marketing. Like, I mean, unless you just cannot bring on any new customers, for whatever reason, then you could consider slowing that down. But I think it's always better to be generating demand. You can always say no to a particular prospect or customer. I mean, the best situation, I have a whole video out there that the most profitable word in business is no, right? Because when you get to the point where you have enough demand that you can say, hey, I can only afford to bring on 2 customers right now. We're at max capacity from a service delivery perspective. I can only bring on 2 more, but you have 5 people that want to pay you. Well, now all of a sudden you can filter those personalities that we were just talking about earlier. You'll get a real sense of, oh, geez, this customer is going to be a pain in the neck versus this one's going to be easy. And so I'm going to say no to that's a great position to be in. So I would always want you to be generating demand. And then obviously, yeah, you're doing everything you can to hustle on the service fulfillment side to get it up to speed. And look, I got to tell you, man, the first version of our services are always brutal. I mean, when I look back on them, I'm like, how did we survive? And you survive because of your enthusiasm, because your hard work, because you're doing your damnedest to deliver the value proposition, even if it isn't perfect, because you're charging prices that are not, crazy. So people see it, they feel it. Are they all going to work out? No. Some customers aren't going to stick around. That just is what it is. And you just got to keep just moving it forward, man.
Thanks. It's good to get that perspective, do that reflection, and get some feedback down. And it just helps me to get that picture of that. I do have these reference experiences, and I'm just going to put them together and bring that to the next stage.
Yep. Absolutely. I love
Great.
it.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Dawson. Thanks for being here, man. Hope you're
Have a
feeling
great
better. Hope
day.
you're on the mend.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me for office hours. Thank you for being a part of the community. And thank you for your business. As always, I hope you found some good value in the call. We do these pretty much every Friday for the most part, if I'm not traveling, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and whatever that is, wherever you are around the world. I'm always grateful for you who are coming internationally and putting up with whatever late night hours you are to be here. I love it. Ashray from India. It's amazing. In between now and our next call, if you need anything, you can post your questions inside of our community, which is hosted on Circle at the moment. And I will do my best to make sure and answer those questions in between calls, okay? Or other members of my team. So thank you so much again. I appreciate all of you, and we will see you on a future call. Take care.